Everybody, welcome to our new format. Instead of frequently asked questions Friday, which we haven't given up on completely, but we changed it right now to FYI Friday. And today I have William Prevett here and Stephen Strezzo, two of our attorneys. Y'all say hi to everybody.
Hello, good to be back.
Anyway, so today we were going to talk about the scooters because we had a scooter company leave town because they didn't want to pay the $1 a day for every scooter they had. I think they had 800 scooters at $1 a day. That's $800 a day times 30 days is what, $24,000
a month.
A month they'd have to pay, and so they just said, no thanks, we're out of here. So they're doing a pilot program for 6 months, and these other two, Duck and
Lime,
are going to pay the fee and kind of reevaluate after 6 months. So anyway, we're here just to kind of discuss rules and regulations that pertain to the scooters, and you know what you guys think about it. We posted some videos yesterday on our Facebook page and I guess Instagram too, about what some of the local citizens had to say. So when you get a chance, check those out. But so I want to start real quick on what rules and regulations apply to these as far as traffic. So let's start with, if you're on a scooter, do you ride on the sidewalk or do you ride in the street?
well, the scooters are mainly, let me kind of start off by talking about the reason for these scooters are kind of for that last leg of your transportation, so you don't break a sweat kind of when you get off the bus to where you go to work. So these are kind of meant for the lower speed roads and traffic areas, but they want you to be in the bike lane. And here they're saying you need to be in a bike lane or on a road with a speed limit lower than 35 miles an hour. So they want it to be treated like a bike where you go with the flow of traffic. They're not meant for the highway, for sure.
Yeah, and so that one of those regulations where the scooters are forbidden on roads with speed limits faster than 35 miles an hour, that's a statewide regulation. So the state has already mandated that. That's not even a Corpus Christi issue. A lot of the regulations seem to touch on the parking of the scooters and where they can park and where they can't park as well, because they can impede traffic in many ways, even without riders. I mean, they can be parked in loading zones, they can be parked in commercial areas, they can be parked in wheelchair ramp areas, and all those are bad places for these to park.
Normal parking spots too.
And normal parking spots. You can't pull into your HEB and park your Lime scooter in a parking spot and walk in. You should park it in the designated spots. And some of these
designated scooter spot?
Yeah, designated. Well, there's not designated scooter spots. It's more so, where you can't park it.
Okay.
And so a lot of those places where I just mentioned, railroad tracks, building entryways, vehicular driveways and transit stops. They can be near those transit stops because that's a big benefit, but they can't impede the bus driver's ability to get in and out and let people in and on and off the bus. So that's where a lot of the regulations are coming in terms of at least what we're looking at here in Corpus.
Yeah, I see them just on street corners all the time. Just there'll be 2, 3, 4 of them just sitting there.
Yeah, and that's okay as long as, like I said, as long as they're not, now if they're on the corner of an intersection and there's a little ramp for the handicap, a handicapped ramp to get onto the street and back onto the sidewalk, they can't block that. So they need to probably be a little bit, safe distance from any ramps, anything that could be construed an issue. And one of the regulations to help with that, that TERS is, and I'll get into what TERS or we will in a minute, but one of the regulations is, they're giving ways to file complaints against the scooter company. They've given 3 different ways to call in a complaint, and one of the regulations is to basically force the scooter company to move any impediment within 2 hours or they'll receive a fine. And so the 3 ways that I've found so far that you can call in with complaints about any of these issues we're talking about so far, you can call the company directly, either Lime or Duck. You can contact the non-emergency police, and that's directly from TERS. So, I don't want to.
TERS is tax.
Yeah,
Tax,
it's
incremental detection.
tax increment reinvestment zone.
Okay.
And so we'll get into it's just a way to help areas improve with the tax money, basically.
Yeah.
And so the last way is to call 361-826-CITY, which is 2489, and you can call them with the complaints as well. So those 3 ways you can file complaints against the scooter companies in an attempt to help regulate some of this mess that are the concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big negatives is like people, when they get done with it, where they put it. One of the big complaints that citizens have and that these companies have is that they're just kind of littered all over the place. Maybe if there was a designated spot for them, it's something that could alleviate some of that, some of those issues. If you rent a bike in downtown Dallas, they have like a bike rack and everything for it. Doesn't seem to be that big of an issue, but
Maybe the city could buy some racks with all that tax money they're collecting.
Sure. And they seem to be making plenty off of it. I mean, these licenses are pretty expensive. $500, is how much the license costs.
Is that $500 per scooter?
It's $500 per company.
Okay.
But then $10 per scooter that they register.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Each scooter has to pay $10 to register, and then $1 a day.
And then $1 a day.
Whether anybody uses it or not.
So in the example that TERS gives us online, a company that owns 100 scooters, the city could earn $38,000 in, I guess, tax revenue from that, which is a lot, but
in 1 month.
No, that would be for the full year if they had only 100 scooters.
Oh, don't have
for
100
that.
scooters.
Yeah, for
okay.
365 days.
Right.
They broke it down. It's like 38,000. And so every 100 scooters in the city, basically per year, the city's getting 38,000. So if there's 1,000 scooters in the city, they're going to get 380,000.
Yeah.
And so I do like the idea of more money to help with our city. And, this TERS, so just briefly, a tax increment reinvestment zone. Back in 2008, the city voted through their rights to create a zone where essentially it's a designated area where a portion of your property tax revenue is hands off for any other purpose other than reinvesting in that zone. So you get taxes from downtown. They can't be reapportioned to Southside to help with a school. They have to stay in downtown. And so, this is proposing that all that money stay downtown, which is good. But as you mentioned at the beginning, we already have a huge company that's pulled out of Corpus completely. Mm-hmm. And so my worry about that licensing regulation, that's kind of the only one I have an issue with, is that it might be too oppressive for the scooter companies. It might be too excessive.
Yeah.
And they're going to just leave. And then if all of them leave, then you have no scooter companies. And then all this was for naught. Yeah. And so there's a fine line to getting it right. And I feel like I'm worried that might be too oppressive. Because the rides are super cheap. I mean, if you've ever ridden on one, I have.
Yeah.
It's like $1 to activate it and 15 cents for every mile.
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I don't know how much money you can really generate. I see a lot more just laying on the side of the road than people riding them. So I don't know how many scooters we actually need. And I know in other places, they got so many scooters. They have issues with, I know in San Francisco, in LA, they have issues with people taking them, just throwing them in the water.
Well, somebody did that here with some of them too. They threw them in Oasis Bay.
Vandalizing them and creates all sorts of issues.
Yeah, that's not the right way to go about it. But, some of these regulations we talked about before this, we do agree with. And one of those would be, cities or the city, Corpus Christi is going to require a monthly data report from the companies and a point of contact within the company. So I don't know if that was a job before, but now it's a job. It's basically city relation for Corpus. So, they have a contact and they're going to provide monthly data. And I think the data will help with supply and demand. It'll help with where the routes are most used. It'll help with, it'll help with basically determining if we have 1,000 scooters out in Corpus, it'll let us know if we need 1,000 or if we only need 250. Like he said, some of them are just sitting there maybe for days at a time.
Right.
So that data would be very helpful.
And I'm sure the companies would like that too, because there's no point in flooding the city with these things if you're going to pay a tax on every single one of them.
Right.
If you only need 200 and you got 1,000 here, you're paying taxes on 800 of these. Get them out here and take them somewhere else.
Right, and they could go to another city, a different place that might need them. That would be, so I think that could be beneficial both to the city and to the company as a matter of, just gathering your facts.
Right. Back to this bike lane issue. So you're not supposed to ride them on sidewalks at all, right?
Correct.
Is that just Corpus or that's statewide?
That's state. Well, I think that's overall. You're not supposed to be on a sidewalk with a bike either. Sidewalks just for walking.
Oh, really? Bikes are supposed to be on
They're not
sidewalks
supposed to be
at
on
all?
the sidewalk.
Okay.
That's why it's a little gray because, there's in some cities I've heard, and this is kind of through the grapevine, a lot of it's city by city, they treat these scooters like bicycles. So if there is no bike lane, and if you're in a big city, you're not expected to not travel on that road. You're expected to share the road with the drivers, and the drivers of automobiles are expected to share the road with the bicyclists. And so some bigger cities adopt that mentality. And so it's a little gray area. I was riding one around in San Antonio, having a blast, by the way. I had a lot of fun on one of those things. And I was scooting on the sidewalks, I was scooting on the streets. I was scooting all around town, and it was a lot of fun. And it really just comes down to, each person. I mean, just like with cars, some people drive a little more safely than others. Some people know a little bit more about the road and the rules than others. And I think the education and knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know would help in these situations. And so, another segue there, it's one of the regulations is for basically rider safety. They want to educate the riders and employers or employees of the scooter companies, of proper ways to ride, proper helmet safety, and stuff like that. So,
are you required to have a helmet?
No. But, I would also, I don't think you should be required to wear a helmet. What do you think?
I think you have to be 18 or what? Or a driver's license.
You have to have
I think
a
it's
driver's
18.
license
Yeah.
to activate most of these accounts.
Okay.
So you can get a learner's permit at what, 15 or something?
Yeah, in Texas, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So can you activate one with a learner's permit?
It's a good question. I'm not sure, but most of the research we did, you need a license, it says, to activate the account, which is good. You don't have a bunch of 10-year-olds, zipping around on these things.
Yeah,
it's helpful.
But 10-year-olds usually don't have learner's permits either.
Right,
But
right.
Okay, so 16. So probably 16-year-olds are zipping around these things.
Safe to say, at least,
Yeah.
16 is 100% safe, maybe even 15, like you said.
So we were speaking of safety. It seems to me like if you're going with the traffic, that's kind of dangerous. I know I used to ride my bike on Ocean Drive and I'd get almost hit like every day. So I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. But we were reading an article before. Giselle sent us an article about somebody up in Austin that was going the wrong way, which means he was going against traffic. And he got hit by a Lyft driver. And apparently he's in critical condition and in the hospital up there and he could die. But if he's going right at traffic, you'd think he would have seen the vehicle that was getting ready to hit him.
Right.
But it seems to me if you're driving a scooter along the road and there's cars you can't even see behind you, that seems more dangerous to me.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that we were kind of going over before this was, there's not really any lights on these things other than the bottom lights there. There's not really any reflectors or anything like that. So really pretty dangerous in general, but at nighttime for sure. I mean, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near traffic, I would think, at nighttime. Not with how they are right now. Not with how,
You were saying earlier that maybe in some places you're not even allowed to ride them at night, that they don't even turn on or something if the sun's gone down or something?
Yeah. You're not even allowed to activate them, so
Yeah.
you can't even get them going once I think past sunset or whatever, to try and keep everyone safe. So I think that's a good thing that should be implemented here, but for some reason they're not programmed that way here.
Well, I can tell you there's a little girl that rides by my house. She looks like she's maybe 12, 13 years old, and she rides that scooter at night. She's zipping by my block all the time.
Yeah.
So,
You know, I don't see any proposed regulations for more reflective gear, but I feel like that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
That would be some equipment that I feel like would help, with that girl riding your neighborhood or anybody after dusk. It could be, it could be dangerous. Even if you're doing the right thing, the smaller vehicle you're on, the more you're going to get hurt if you get into an accident. And this is about as small a vehicle as you can get.
And it's like a motorcycle. You got no protection at all.
Yeah.
If you wipe out or somebody hits you, you're.
And even on motorcycles, they're not required to wear a helmet in Texas. If you are over the age of 21 and you've completed a safety course, you don't even have to wear one on a motorcycle. Yeah. So that's my mindset, is if you're not going to require one on a motorcycle, you shouldn't require one on a scooter.
Yeah.
If it's required, trickle down, in that regard, then I think you should require it. I think you could certainly propose maybe a little completed course through these apps to make sure you can ride it without a helmet. That might be an easy solution to make sure that the rider's knowledgeable. But I don't think they should be required a helmet, especially if motorcycles aren't required one.
Yeah. Well, I'll disagree with you there. We used to ski without helmets, and
that's true.
And now we just look back and go, how stupid was that? And
oh yeah.
There's a famous lawyer here in town, Joseph Wirt, got a bad head injury. He's never been the same from skiing. And I think we all know about the Kennedy guy and Sonny Bono and all these people that died because they weren't wearing helmets. And now most people won't even think about skiing anymore without a helmet. It's just
right.
If nothing else, because some snowboarder is going to smash into you. Even if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing,
right.
Some 12-year-old snowboarder that thinks he can't die is going to decide he owns the mountain.
And I think it should be a healthy topic to think about in every scenario, but we're not required to ski with it either. It's not a requirement. I'm saying I have a Vespa. If you see me scooting around town on a white little scooter, I wear my helmet every time I ride it, but I'm not required to.
Right.
But I'll wear it. I wear it skiing, and
all you gotta do is fall out one time and you go,
right.
Good thing I'm wearing a helmet.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. And so I've ridden on the scooters without helmets every time. I feel as though, if you're not being reckless, you should be, I operate it like I would operate my Vespa, in the sense that I'm driving defensively at all times. I'm making sure I'm looking out for everybody because I'm trying to avoid that mistake by somebody else.
Yeah.
And so if you drive defensively, it helps, in these scenarios.
I don't know how well a 16-year-old kid's gonna drive defensively. He's more worried about how fast he can go and how many curves he can jump. And
might be a requirement to raise the age to 18. That might be a good one. A little more responsibility.
I think one of the main issues
cortex
is
developed a little more.
Yeah. I think one of the main issues is it seems like these things just came here overnight.
Right.
And they
did.
dumped them on us,
Yeah.
and now we're trying to sort it out kind of after the fact. So, the city's certainly doing what they can, but it's still kind of a sort of like an experimental run at things. You know.
Well, listen, guys, we've been on the air on the internet here for almost 20 minutes. We can always finish this topic up another time, but let me just run through the pros and cons real quick on these. This is what some of the local citizens said here. They said what's great is income for the city, as a tourist attraction, convenient, safe alternative to walking at night. And then some of the cons are they're a tripping hazard, they block sidewalks, and there's scooter drivers on the road. Either y'all have anything else you want to add on either one of those topics before we finish up here?
I guess my my concern I shared earlier is that one of those pros could be taken away if these regulations are too oppressive, and that the whole kit and caboodle could be taken away. So there would be no more tourist attraction and no more safe alternative. So you have to measure that one income for the city. It'd be great if we could charge $2 a ride, but if they're only earning $1.50 a ride and you're taking the lion's share of it, it's not going to be a business that is going to be profitable, and they'll go away. And that's my concern in terms of the pros. But
I have a quick question. What's a caboodle?
I'm not sure. That's just an old saying. I'm not sure.
Anyway, okay. Were you done? Or
Yeah, I think
okay.
I think those cons are safe to look at, but the scooters drivers on the road, if you're concerned about them, I feel like you should be concerned about bicyclists on the road. I feel like you'd have those same annoyances that would come from that, because they go about the same speed as a bike.
There's a lot of people who won't ride on the roads around here anymore because they get hit all the time.
Right.
And I know I don't.
Right.
Because it seems like people don't care.
Right.
So, but I understand they can be irritating, especially if you're in a hurry to get somewhere and there's some scooter you gotta wait for, some bicycle. But the solution is not to run them over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
Stephen, what about you? You got anything to add?
Maybe just encourages public transportation. Like I said, they're kind of meant to be the last leg. A lot of people use them to get to and from work, so.
Or
Just
school.
put
I
that-
think,
I would put
a lot
that
of
on
kids
the-
take them to school too.
Right. I'd put that on the pros. For
So
sure.
from a pollution standpoint, I guess
Good for the
lower,
environment.
good for the environment.
Good for environment.
That's good. Okay. Yeah, I like that.
I'm thinking that the city could just sell like reflective tape, and you could literally just put the tape like on your shirt, if you're driving it, and that's something else for safety, just something
Yeah.
so you can see these people.
Right. That would be great. I mean, something like that, I think, should be in place.
Yeah.
I really think.
Okay. All right. Well, under this new format, we're gonna probably just do this once a month, and we'll get back to you on what our next topic is. If we decide we want to come back here and address this a little bit more thoroughly, or something else changes, then we'll announce it. We'll come back here on a Friday and do it quicker. Or if it's Supreme Court or something rules on it, and we need to do it on a Tuesday or something, we'll do that. So
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I want to thank you guys for joining us on our first FYI new video format.
All right. Great.
Great to
Thanks.
be
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys. Bye.